deep breath. Saying 2020 was no ordinary year is stating the obvious, but there have been some lighter moments. To help us find the humor in what has been a roller coaster of a year is comedian Jason Goliath. Jason, thank you for doing this. All right, so clearly we've had a tough time in 2020, and that's an understatement, but somehow we find ways to cope. What have been some of your best moments of 2020?
Some of my best moments were in January and February and the first 2 weeks of March, before we got phone calls to say that our diaries are empty. Nobody wants to watch us make jokes anymore. Nobody's allowed to. And everything was kind of taken away. And the weirdest part for me is that even as I say all of those things in jest, 2020 has been a magnificent year because it was, so from our side, it was from kind of end of March until the beginning of May, we felt like, okay, that's it. You know, you've worked so hard. Our business is now 9 years old. We've been doing comedy for 9 years. And I was just like, okay, so we've had a good time. And those 9 years have been fun, and now it's gone. And then I realized that, you know, all of those motivational speakers you'd listen to, Vusi Tembakwayo, you know, all those guys that are thin for no reason. They don't eat white bread. They've got six packs. They just talk. They're not fighters or boxers or physical athletes. These guys just talk, but they're always in the gym. And those guys always say that opportunity lies outside your comfort zone, which I think is one of many sayings for me that I've heard over and over in my life that I've never truly kind of made sense of and taken to heart. And then I thought about it, and I was like, listen, if this thing is true, this is the first time that none of us are comfortable. Nobody's comfortable, and therefore there must be opportunities. So then I just went back to the basics, man, where number one was acceptance and stop trying to pretend that this is not happening. Number two was trying to find my gratitude regardless. So obviously, you know, for comedians, in the time I like to call BC, before Corona, our gratitude came from, you know, audience adoration and always just, you know, feeling hyped up. And then all of a sudden it was us performing to our computers, and it was devastating because we kind of associated silence as a terrible thing, as not doing well in our minds.
Not getting the feedback immediately. And but Jason, 100%. Also, the digital space also, though, provided you opportunity, you know, viral content, right?
Yes.
Who can forget our president, the first time he tried to put on a mask in public? Surely that was a moment that was inspiring for you. And if I may add, go ahead, talk about that momentarily.
No, I like how you're trying to see jokes here. Which I appreciate. But to finish my point, it was the second I stopped looking for what I'd lost and started looking for what's new and what's available, that's when. So digital, for example, I realized that, you know, we can nurture audiences not only locally but internationally. We can now put on shows for audiences not within a 20-kilometer radius from a venue, but globally. We can now take something as simple as the president, which is such an iconic moment where he looks like the Ninja Turtle and he puts it over his eyes first and then over his mouth, and then you see him turn. Because for me and for comedians, the funny moment is not the ones you see obvious. The funny moment is when he turns and makes eye contact with the person who insisted he do this on camera and realizes that he's just made a fool out of me again. The big deal is, and I think that this is what we must embrace as being South Africans, the very next day, the guy goes online, national television, and laughs about the fact that we were laughing at him. And that's when I knew, if the president can laugh in a moment like this, then everybody can laugh in a moment like this. And we just kept it moving. And that's my advice for everybody. Keep it moving, keep pushing, keep telling what you must.
But I must say though, Jason, we were stressed, were we not? I mean, there was a point where we couldn't when we couldn't take a tipple, and those who smoke could not even enjoy their smokes, and we became familiar with dabs of the nation. when people zol, they put saliva on the paper. We've had a tough time, Jason.
And again, the auntie was cool about it. The auntie went on Twitter and tweeted him and said, listen, we need to have a conversation about this song. And I think that for me is a true sign of the South African spirit, in the fact that, you know, we've been through so much that there's nothing that can take our laughter away. We've seen so much pain, so much adversity. We've seen so much stress over the last 100 years of being South African, that this was just a different version of of the same kind of, I think, stress and oppression that lots of South Africans have lived with anyway, and we've always laughed through it. Let me tell you, as a South African comedian, when you go in the world and tell jokes, you realize how amazing South Africans are. Never mind just as an audience, but just as a people. The ability to embrace bad times, the ability to find the humor, the ability to keep laughing despite the size of the struggle, and the ability to keep it moving. And if there's one sentence that I'm going to take out of 2020 is, if you stop, you die. So keep it moving, so you tell what you must. Keep it moving.
Who was the funniest personality for you for 2020? I'll tell you who was mine. There was one, Vuyo Nzeku, who testified at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. I will never forget the man. I mean, I didn't know the man before, but my favorite moment is the point at which he, he's cornered and eventually says, Chair, what I know, I can't remember. And that's the bottom line. And I think that's the bottom line for me as far as 2020 is concerned. Who was yours?
You just look. So there were so many. I think that Donald Trump was one of the funniest for me, and I just think that because everything that came out of his mouth was ludicrous, and I just think that it was just, for me, what was funny was the fact that this man that's got all of this gobbledygook coming out of his mouth, all of these insults, all of this just savagery for no reason, is the leader of the world, and people voted him into power. And I think that that was the most hilarious moment, where I was like, as human beings, we are forever going to be unpredictable. We're forever going to go against the trends and do whatever we want and set our minds to. So Donald Trump was definitely one of them for me. And then there were so many comedians that came up with amazing things. Guys like Skalk Bezuidenhout, who just did stuff every single day online to keep us going. Guys like Mark Lottering that did huge online shows and made the whole industry feel like it's okay. We're still going to be able to tell jokes. So there were so many. I think, we had the great hilarious moment, and then we had crazy moments like Clicks, where there's still, till to date, nothing funny about what happened with Clicks. But I think a wonderful moment where the whole advertising industry at the same time realized, okay, they are tired of our nonsense. Yeah. They are tired of being told that when white people buy washing powder, it's to clean clothes, and when black people buy washing powder, it's to clean soccer uniforms. That's it. I was just like, the whole industry has realized that we can buck trends, we can change narratives. And I think that for me is one of the things we got to embrace about this year.
All right, Jason, thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. And do stay safe and have a good time. Jason Goliath there, looking back on an extraordinary year, 2020. My personality, funniest personality, I'm sorry, Mr. Nzeku takes it for me in 2020. That's it from all angles.